Some men find out their grandchild has been pushed aside, and they raise their voice. I found out mine had been pushed aside and I opened a spreadsheet. But we'll get to that. Thursday, April 9th. Bellevue, Ohio. 10:52 p.m. I was in my recliner, the ball game muted. A cold cup of decaf sitting on the side table because I'd forgotten about it 40 minutes ago the way I forget about most things after 71 years on this earth. My phone lit up. Pastor Ruth. Now, Ruth Delgado does not call after 9. She's the kind of woman who considers 9-5 the outer edge of civilization. So, when her name came up on my screen at damn near 11 o'clock, I sat up so fast I nearly knocked over that cold coffee. I answered before the second ring finished. Ruth. Frank. I'm sorry to bother you this late, I truly am, but I didn't know who else to call. Her voice had that careful, hallway quality to it, the tone people use right before they tell you something is broken. I put the recliner down. What's wrong? It's Maya. I was dropping off food pantry boxes on Larchmont, and I saw her sitting on the porch steps in the dark. Alone, Frank. No lights on in the house. She said her mom and stepdad left for Gatlinburg 2 days ago and took Tyler with them. I asked if anyone was checking on her, and she said her stepdad's sister came by once with a pizza but didn't stay. The room went very still around me the way a room does when the ordinary furniture of your life suddenly looks like it's underwater. She's 9 years old, Ruth. I know. Is she safe right now? She's sitting with me in my car. I didn't feel right, leaving her on that porch. But Frank, I can't keep her overnight. I've got my own grandkids here, and Bill's asleep, and I'm already getting my shoes. Text me the address. I don't have a car seat or... Ruth, text me the address. I called Maya before I even found my second shoe. It rang once, like she'd been holding the phone in both hands, waiting for it to make a sound that meant somebody was coming. Grandpa Frank? Hey, sweet pea, you okay? A pause that told me everything before she said a word. I think so. 9 years old and already rounding her feelings down to whatever wouldn't inconvenience anybody. My chest did that thing it does now, the tight thing, the thing my cardiologist has opinions about. Listen to me. Are you somewhere safe right now? I'm in Miss Ruth's car. Good girl. Have you eaten today? There was cereal this morning. And the pizza yesterday, but I saved 2 slices because I didn't know when Aunt Carol was coming back, and she never said. She'd rationed pizza. A 9-year-old had done math on her own hunger because nobody else was doing it for her. I grabbed my keys and my wallet off the hook by the door. Baby, I need you to hear me say something. Whatever happened, whatever you think you didn't do anything wrong. You hear me? Silence on the line, long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then, so small I almost missed it under the sound of Ruth's turn signal ticking in the background. Grandpa, is it because I'm not really theirs? Because Tyler got to go to Gatlinburg and I asked Mom if I could come too, and she said the cabin only slept 4. And it's not even my birthday or anything. I just wanted to know why. I stood in my hallway in Bellevue, Ohio, 1 shoe on, 1 shoe in my hand, and I made a decision. Not a hot decision, not something I'd cool off from by morning. A permanent one. The kind you make once in a life and then spend the rest of your years standing behind. Maya. You are exactly as much theirs as anybody in that family. More. Because you never had a choice about loving them and you did it anyway. Now stay right there with Miss Ruth. Grandpa's coming. Ruth's porch light was on when I pulled up 11 minutes later. Maya was standing at the bottom of the steps in a hoodie 2 sizes too big. A school backpack over one shoulder like she'd packed it herself in the dark without being told to. When my headlights hit her, she didn't run right away. She just stood there a second like she needed to confirm it was really me. Then she ran. She didn't say a word. She just grabbed onto my jacket and held on with both fists like she was afraid gravity itself might change its mind. I picked her up, all 60-some pounds of her, out there in Ruth Delgado's front yard, and I looked over her shoulder at Ruth, who was standing on her porch with her arms crossed tight over her chest, trying to hold her own face together. I called her mother twice, Ruth said quietly. Straight to voicemail both times. Of course it did. I got Maya buckled into the back seat myself, tucked my jacket around her like a blanket because I hadn't thought to bring one. Before I pulled out of the driveway, Ruth leaned in the window. Frank, my cousin's a family law paralegal down in Columbus. She works for a woman named Denise Okafor. 19 years in this, and Denise doesn't lose. I'll have the number to you tonight. Send it the second you get home, Ruth. Tonight. She already had her phone out. Maya was asleep before we hit the county road. I drove home with the radio off, just tires on asphalt and her breathing slowing down in the back seat, and at the light on Route 9 I did something I told myself I wouldn't do. I opened the stepfather's Facebook. There it was, posted 6 hours earlier. Ray. Denise, no relation to the lawyer, just a cruel little coincidence of names, and a boy of about 11, all three of them on a mountain overlook somewhere outside Gatlinburg, the fog rolling through the valley behind them like something out of a calendar. Denise in a flannel she definitely bought specifically for this trip. Ray with his arm slung around the boy's shoulders, grinning like a man with absolutely nothing weighing on him. Caption: making memories with my whole world. His whole world. Not the child 2 states away eating ration pizza in the dark. The light turned green. I didn't move. Somebody behind me laid on the horn. I still didn't move. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. I got Maya home, got her into the guest room with a nightlight and a glass of water and one of my late wife's old quilts, and I sat on the edge of that bed until her breathing evened all the way out. Then I went to the kitchen table, poured coffee I had no business drinking at midnight, opened my laptop, and started a document. Every date, every word Maya had said. Ruth's account, typed while it was still fresh in both our memories. The Facebook post, time-stamped, the 2 unanswered calls. This wasn't anger. This was a file. At 1:40 in the morning my phone buzzed. Ruth had sent the contact, Denise Okafor. Okafor family law, downtown Columbus. 19 years, 0 losses in custody court. I saved it and then opened a new tab and started looking at flights to Savannah, because that's where my late wife's sister's beach cottage still sat empty most of the year, and because I had decided somewhere between the second cup of coffee and the third that Maya was going to know what it felt like to be somebody's whole world for a change. If you've made it this far, do an old man a favor and hit that subscribe button, would you? Costs you nothing. And leave me a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read every one. By 3 a.m., I had 2 round-trip tickets to Savannah booked, the cottage confirmed with my sister-in-law, and an email sent to Denise Okafor's office that read, "My name is Frank Delacroix. My granddaughter was left home alone for 2 days while her mother and stepfather took a vacation with her stepbrother. I need to understand every option available to me. I'll be in Columbus the day I'm back." Then I called Ray. Straight to voicemail, same as it had gone for Ruth, and I let it ring through on purpose. I wanted him waking up in that mountain cabin, rolling over, and finding a message from his father-in-law waiting for him like something with teeth. "Ray, it's Frank. Wanted you to know I've got Maya. She's safe. We're taking a little trip ourselves. Hope Gatlinburg's everything you hoped for. We'll talk when you're back." I hung up, walked down the hall, checked on her one more time. She'd curled all the way into that old quilt, rabbit-shaped stuffed something or other tucked under her chin, and for the first time all night her face had gone soft. No worry line between her eyebrows. Just a kid, finally. Being a kid. I went back to the kitchen and sat with my coffee and thought about the next 2 weeks of my son-in-law's life, because I had a file, I had a lawyer's number, and I had 2 plane tickets, and he had absolutely no idea any of it existed yet. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. They say living well is the best revenge. I say living well while an attorney with a 19-year winning streak quietly builds a file is a considerably better one. But we'll get to that. Friday, April 10th, Bellevue, Ohio, 6:20 a. I was on my second cup when Maya wandered into the kitchen in socks, hair every direction, that stuffed rabbit hanging from one hand. "Grandpa, why are you already dressed?" "Because we've got a plane to catch, sweet pea." She blinked at me the way kids do when they think you might be pulling a fast one. "A plane? Where?" "Savannah, Georgia. You and me. 3 hours." Her mouth started moving before the rest of her face caught up, that slow, disbelieving grin. "Are you serious? Do I look like a man who jokes about the beach?" She screamed loud enough that Mrs. Chen next door probably heard it through 2 walls, and she ran back down the hallway to pack, and I sat at my kitchen table and smiled into my coffee cup for the first time in 12 hours. Saturday, April 11th, Tybee Island, just outside Savannah, 11:15 a.m. I want you to understand something about me. I'm a 71-year-old man who drives a 15-year-old Buick and considers a Bob Evans meatloaf plate a special occasion. I don't do luxury vacations. But my sister-in-law's cottage sat 200 feet from the ocean with a wraparound porch and ceiling fans older than Maya's mother. And when I opened those French doors, and the whole Atlantic showed up at once, blue and enormous and completely indifferent to everything that had happened on Larchmont Street, I understood for a second why people save up for this. Maya stood in the doorway, both hands at her sides, that rabbit dangling from one fist, staring. "Grandpa, is this ours?" "For the next 6 days it is, baby. Can I go all the way down to the water?" "You can put your whole self in that ocean if you want to. Go." She took off across the sand at a dead sprint, and that laugh came rolling back up the beach at me, bright and surprised, and it hit me the way these things do all at once, out of nowhere, like a wave you didn't see coming. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in months, and I hadn't even noticed the silence until it broke. The next 5 days I'll carry to my grave. Day 1, she rode every wave that would have her, came up sputtering and grinning with sand in her ears, until a retired lifeguard named Otis started keeping score out loud from his beach chair like she was in some kind of competition against the ocean itself. Day 2, a horseback ride at low tide with a guide named Dell who put her on a patient gray mare called Clementine and let her walk the shoreline while the sun came up pink behind them. Maya sat up on that horse straighter than I'd seen her sit at any dinner table in 2 years. "Grandpa, take a picture." I took 30, posted one. Maya on Clementine, ocean gold behind her, a smile that took up her whole face. Caption: "My granddaughter's first sunrise ride. Never seen her more herself." I knew Ray would see it. I posted it anyway. Call it a preview. Day 3, a cooking lesson at a little seafood shack with a chef named Solomon, a broad-shouldered man from Charleston who called every single customer Chief, regardless of age or gender, and who looked at Maya like she'd been sent to him personally. "Chief, you ever shucked an oyster in your life?" "No, sir." "Well, today's the day. Come on." There was cornmeal everywhere by the end of it, on Maya, on Solomon, somehow on me standing 6 feet back with my hands in my pockets, and Solomon talked the whole time about his grandmother's kitchen in Charleston and how good food is just patience with a little love mixed in, and Maya listened to every word with her tongue between her teeth, like she'd done this exact thing in some other life. At the end, he tasted her hush puppies, closed his eyes like a man accepting an award, and pointed a spatula straight at me. "You bring her back next summer, Chief. I'll make her a real cook." Maya beamed so wide I thought her face might split open, and I took a picture of that too, cornmeal on her nose, grinning like she'd conquered something, because she had. But here's what nobody at that seafood shack saw. Every single night after Maya fell asleep, I stepped out onto that porch, slid the door shut quiet behind me, and called Denise Okafor. 9 o'clock sharp, every time. Denise did not do small talk. I got the sense she'd used up her whole lifetime allotment sometime back in the Clinton administration and had none left over for me. Night 1. Tell me everything, start to finish, dates only, no feelings. I talked for 35 minutes. She interrupted exactly twice, both times to pin down a timestamp. When I finished, she went quiet, the kind of quiet where you can practically hear somebody's brain working. "Here's where we stand, Mr. Delacroix. What happened has a name under Ohio law. Leaving a 9-year-old alone, unsupervised, for more than 24 hours meets the standard for child neglect under the state's dependency statutes. You're sure of that? I've built cases on considerably thinner ground than what you've handed me. Your neighbor's a strong witness, direct and first-hand. We've got the child's own account, which I'll need properly recorded. We've got a time-stamped social media post placing the parents on vacation during the exact window in question, and we've got your voicemail establishing that you were the one who actually intervened." She paused. "I'll also want school records. Any counselor notes, any attendance flags, anything in the last 2 years. I'll have Ruth pull what she can by Monday." "Good. When you're back in Ohio, I'll have the framework ready. We'll be pursuing 3 things at once: enforceable grandparent visitation, a formal referral to Children's Services, and a request for a home evaluation given the documented disparity in how the two children are being raised. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Will Maya have to testify? Not if I do this correctly. And Mr. Delacroix, I always do this correctly. I believed her completely. Night 2, Denise walked me through what she called the financial architecture. My will. My late wife's half of a small rental property in Dayton neither of Maya's parents knew still existed. A trust, structured a particular way, locked a particular way. Once it's filed and signed, nobody touches it. Not Ray. Not your daughter. Not any attorney they hire, no matter how much they pay him. You're certain? I've never been more certain of anything, Denise. Then I'll have it drafted before your flight lands. Night 3 is when things shifted in a way I wasn't ready for. I was reading Denise a school counselor's note off my phone, a flag from 8 months back about Maya withdrawing socially, acknowledged by her mother in an email and never followed up on when the porch door slid open behind me. Maya stood there in her pajamas, rabbit dangling, squinting at me with the deep suspicion only a 9-year-old woken from a half-sleep can produce. Grandpa, who are you talking to? I covered the phone. Just a work call, sweet pea. Go on back to bed. She considered this with the full seriousness of a Supreme Court justice. Can I have a juice box first? There's one in the fridge on the porch. The one that's not warm. I am on the phone building a legal case against your mother's husband, and you are out here doing quality control on juice boxes. Yes, one juice box, then bed. She vanished, without further negotiation. I went back to Denise. Sorry. 9-year-old logistics. I heard, Denise said, and I would swear on my late wife's grave that something almost warm crossed under that flat, professional voice of hers. She sounds like she's doing considerably better than the file suggests she was. She really is. Good. Hold on to that. The gap between how she was documented at home and how she's presenting now, in your care, that gap is going to matter a great deal in front of a judge. I wrote it down word for word. But it was night 4 I truly wasn't ready for. We were at a little table on Solomon's back deck, string lights overhead, Maya working through a plate of fried shrimp and narrating each one like a food critic, when she went quiet all at once, set her fork down, and looked at the tablecloth for a long moment before looking up at me with those big, serious eyes. Grandpa, is it because I'm not really his kid? Is that why Tyler gets to go on the trips and I don't? The whole deck kept moving around us, somebody's kid laughing at the next table, a boat horn somewhere out on the water, and right there at that little table, everything else just stopped. I set my fork down slow. I took both her hands in mine across that tablecloth, and I told her the truth, all of it, in a way a 9-year-old could hold on to. I told her that a stepfather choosing to love her was never required and never owed, and that when somebody chooses you on purpose, that's not a lesser kind of family, that's the realest kind there is. I told her that whatever was broken in that house had nothing to do with anything she'd done or failed to do, and everything to do with grown-ups who hadn't figured out how to love 2 children the same amount at the same time. I told her I would fly to the moon and file paperwork with every lawyer in Ohio before I let anybody make her feel like she came in second place in her own family. Her eyes went shiny. She nodded slow, working it over the way she does. Then she looked at my plate. Can I have some of your fries? You can have all of them. And dessert? Order 2. She smiled small, then bigger, then the real one, the kind that climbs all the way up into her eyes and stays there. I excused myself to the restroom after that, ran cold water over my wrists, looked at myself in the mirror a good long while, because I'd held it together at that table for her sake. I'd been steady because that's what she needed from me. But I'm only a man, and somewhere up in those mountains outside Gatlinburg my son-in-law was sleeping just fine. That thought was the one that got me to dry my hands, straighten my collar, and walk back out and sit across from my granddaughter and finish what I'd started the second Ruth Delgado's name lit up my phone. No more benefit of the doubt. We were going home, and Denise Okafor had work to do. If this story's got you invested, it really helps if you hit that like button and subscribe. I mean that. Some folks need a courtroom to find justice. Some folks just need one honest conversation. Ray was going to get both, whether he wanted them or not. Sunday, April 19th, Bellevue, Ohio, 5:10 p.m. Maya fell asleep on the flight home with her head against my arm, and that rabbit in her lap and a half-eaten pack of crackers still in her hand, like she'd just stopped mid-bite and shut down completely. The flight attendant smiled when she came by for trash. I held up a hand. Let her sleep. She nodded and moved on quiet. I sat there 30,000 feet up with my granddaughter asleep on my shoulder and thought about what was waiting back home, not dread. Something closer to a kind of settled certainty, the feeling a man gets when he already knows exactly what he's walking into. Ray and my daughter had landed the day before. I knew because Ray had finally answered my voicemail, not with a call, with a text. 5 words, no punctuation. We should talk. Home Sunday. I read it twice, forwarded it straight to Denise with one line. Monday, my kitchen table, 9 sharp. She wrote back inside 3 minutes. Already cleared it. I'll bring the file. Monday, April 20th. My house, 8:57 a.m. Denise Okafor arrived 2 minutes early, which I'd come to learn was the latest she ever showed up anywhere. Gray suit, briefcase that had clearly sat on more serious tables than mine. She set her folder down, took coffee without any ceremony, sat like she'd been sitting at my kitchen table her whole career. I liked her more every time I saw her. They don't know I'm here, she said, not looking up. They think it's a family talk. The corner of her mouth moved, just barely. It is. Just a very well-documented one. At 9:02, I heard the car in the driveway. Here we go. Ray came in first. Tan from a week in the mountains, wearing a collared shirt like he'd dressed for this on purpose. Tired underneath the tan, the kind sleep doesn't touch because it isn't coming from being tired. It's coming from somewhere else. My daughter, Sam, came in right behind him, chin up, arms crossed, looking like she'd spent the whole drive over building an argument. Ray opened his mouth to talk. Then he saw Denise. Stopped mid-step like somebody cut the power to his legs. Dad. Who's? Ray. Sam, this is Denise Okafor, I said, pleasant as Sunday. Family law, 19 years. Downtown Columbus. Sit down. There's coffee. Sam's eyes went from Denise to me to the folder on the table and back. Dad, we came here to talk as a family, not to. Please sit. Mrs. Whitfield, Denise said. 4 words. Dead level. Sam sat. Not because she wanted to. Because something in that voice made standing feel like the worse option. I'd felt that same thing over the phone from a porch in Savannah, and I understood it completely. Ray sat beside her, hands flat on the table, not looking at me yet. He knew. He'd known since that voicemail found him on a mountain, and he'd carried it 2 states and a week of highway, and it was sitting right there on his face for anybody paying attention. Denise opened her folder without any theater. Slid 1 page across like she was passing the butter. A timeline, clean and merciless. Thursday, April 9th. Ray Whitfield and Samantha Whitfield depart Bellevue, Ohio, with minor child Tyler Whitfield for Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Minor child Maya Delacroix, age 9, remains at family residence on Larchmont Street without adult supervision. Ray read it. His face didn't move. Sam read it. Hers moved plenty. This is completely you can't. We had arrangements. Carol was supposed to. Mrs. Whitfield, Denise said, perfectly pleasant, perfectly immovable. I'll save us all some time. What's on that page has a specific legal meaning under Ohio law. We're not here to debate whether it happened. It happened. Ruth Delgado has provided a signed statement. We have a time-stamped Facebook post. We have Maya's own account, recorded and reviewed. She slid a 2nd page across. We're here to talk about what happens next. Sam opened her mouth again. Ray put his hand on her arm. She stopped. First decisive thing I'd seen him do in this whole business. 2 weeks late, but I noted it. Denise laid it out clean. 3 actions already drafted. Enforceable grandparent visitation, a formal referral to children's services, backed by 2 years of school records including a counselor's flag Sam had received in writing and never acted on. A request for a home evaluation given the documented gap between how Maya was doing at home and how she'd been doing every single day in my care. With each page Denise set down, Sam's color changed, from defensive pink to a pale I recognized as a woman doing math in her head and not finding a single number that worked for her. Ray hadn't moved. He was staring at that timeline like a man looking at wreckage he'd caused himself. Denise folded her hands. The Children's Services referral is drafted. It has not been filed. That stays a choice for the next 72 hours. Real silence, the kind with weight to it. Then Ray looked up off that page and looked at me straight on for the first time since he'd walked through my door. Dad, just that. One word carrying 2 weeks of everything he hadn't said. I waited. I gave him nothing. Let him carry it the rest of the way on his own. I knew it was wrong the whole time, he said, voice rough. Sam said it was just this once, that we'd make it up to her when we got back, and I told myself that was true because it was easier than he stopped, jaw working. I packed the truck and I walked right past her door, and she was sitting on her bed watching me do it, and I just kept walking. I got in the truck, Dad. I drove off. His voice broke clean on that last word. Sam turned to look at him sharp. He didn't look back at her. Kept his eyes on me. Red-rimmed. No defense left in him at all. I looked at my son-in-law a long moment. The man who used to help me change my own oil in the driveway. The man I'd walked my daughter down the aisle to give away. The man sitting across from me now who'd packed a bag and walked past a 9-year-old's door and kept going. I wanted to be furious. I was furious. But underneath it, older than it, was something closer to grief, for the family I thought I'd handed my daughter into, and the version of it sitting in front of me now. I let myself feel that for about 3 seconds. Then I opened my own folder. I know you knew, Ray. That's the part that's kept me up. He flinched like it landed somewhere physical. Good. I slid it across. Ray picked it up, read the first page slow, set it down with both hands like it might break. Sam grabbed it, read it faster, set it down harder. My revised will, notarized through Denise's office the week prior, while Maya was learning to shuck oysters in Savannah. A good chunk of what I've got, including the Dayton property that neither of them knew still existed, now sitting in an irrevocable trust in Maya's name, released in full on her 18th birthday, managed independently, overseen by Denise's firm. Irrevocable, meaning done, meaning no lawyer, either one of them hired, however expensive, was ever going to move it. Plus a college fund, already open, already funded, already drawing interest while we sat there. Sam stared at the page, then up at me, and for the first time since she'd walked in with her chin up and her arms crossed, all of that came down, and what was underneath wasn't anger. It was fear, the real kind. The kind that shows up when somebody realizes they've been outplanned the entire time they thought they still had the upper hand. Dad, she started. You chose who mattered, I said, not loud, not leaning in, just saying something already settled. So did I. Nobody spoke. Good. Denise laid out 4 conditions, plain and non-negotiable. 1. Maya begins weekly sessions with a licensed counselor inside 30 days, paid from the trust. 2. I get enforceable visitation every other weekend, 2 full weeks each summer, holidays worked out in writing. 3. Ray and Sam complete a minimum of 6 sessions of family counseling, together and separate, with documented attendance. 4. The Children's Services file stays sealed for 1 full year. 1 missed session, 1 incident, it gets filed, same day, no warning call. Filed. These aren't suggestions, Denise said. They're terms. Sam looked at Ray. A whole silent argument passed between them in about 4 seconds. Then she looked back at the table and gave one tight nod, like it cost her something she wasn't getting back. It did. They signed at 10:20. Ray stood to go, stopped in the doorway, one hand on the frame, back to me. Is she, his voice caught. Is Maya okay? I let that sit a moment, long enough to be felt. She will be. No thanks to you. But she will be. He nodded at the doorframe, didn't turn around, walked out. Sam followed without a word. The door clicked shut. 6 months later, October, Bellevue, Ohio. Maya calls me every Sunday at 6, hasn't missed one yet. Last week she talked 40 minutes straight about her counselor, a woman named Priscilla who apparently smells like cinnamon rolls, which is weird but Maya's decided she likes it. About the hush puppies, she made Ray for his birthday off Solomon's recipe, from memory, no notes. About how Tyler let her pick the movie Friday and she chose one he clearly hated and she felt a little bad about it and also not really. That last part she got straight from me. I'm choosing to be proud of it. Ray shows up to every school thing now, sits in the second row every time, doesn't make a show of it, doesn't post about it, just shows up and stays the whole way through. It isn't redemption yet. It's the road toward it. And I know the difference between a man performing change and a man actually doing the work. Ray's doing the work. Sam's harder. Civil, present, trying. Some weeks that has to be enough. Ray told me during one of the phone calls he and I have slowly started having again that the counselor thinks Sam built her whole idea of family around Tyler, and that Maya had always been something she didn't know how to fold into that picture. I'm no therapist. I don't fully understand it, and I'm not going to pretend I do. They spent a week in the mountains, making Maya feel like she came in second in her own family. I spent a little more making sure she never forgets she was somebody's whole world the entire time. And that's the whole story. If this one got to you, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Tell somebody who needs to hear it, and I'll see you on the next one.